And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my mid-season Formula 1 2019 review. Okay, part number 1. Meaning that there will be 2 other parts. Okay, this will be a 3-part series special. Okay, and you can expect probably a video, one tonight, one tomorrow night. Okay, over the weekend. Okay. And probably the final one on Monday evening as well. But today we're here to discuss about the first part. And we're going to do that through pointing out one good point and one bad point of each team's season so far. So today we'll start with the Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. Then tomorrow we'll go on to the McLaren, Renault and Toro Rosso. Then on the final day, we'll finish off with the Alfa Romeo, Racing Point, Haas and Williams. So basically in championship order we're going to do this in, okay, for this, review. So first off, let's start with Mercedes, and obviously let's start with the beauty she is, the W10. Obviously, there's the Niki Lauda star, by the way, as you can see on the car. Nice touching tribute to the one, the only racing legend, Niki Lauda. But of course, let's talk about Mercedes, and phenomenal. That is the positives from Ferrari and from Mercedes. Literally, the first 8 races is literally the positive thing. 8 wins out of the first 8 races. Now I know probably 2 of the wins, you could argue, were gifted by, Ferrari's first reliability in Bahrain, and by, obviously, Sebastian Vettel's penalty in Canada. But, regardless of circumstances, it still means they've won 8 races from the first 8 Grand Prix. I think that's the most any teams ever won from the first 8 Grand Prix or from the first 10 Grand Prix, of a season. Literally, absolutely phenomenal. In fact, from the first 10 Grand Prix, they won 9 races. That's basically, what, a 99% win ratio or something like that? It's really, really good from Mercedes, in all honesty. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. And, they've actually won 10 races out of the first 12 races. So pretty good stuff, and they can actually still match the McLaren record, okay, of what I'm aware. They just need to win, though, I think, the remaining 9 races, and, it's more than possible, considering how good the car has been, certainly in that first half of the season, and if Ferrari can't, make use of their car, Red Bull, obviously, I don't think they're quick enough, to really prevent a challenge from, Mercedes all the time. It could be done if Mercedes can just keep on top of reliability, make sure the car's there or thereabouts, and Mercedes can match that McLaren record from, I think it's 1988, when McLaren won 15, or it was something like that, 15 out of 16 Grand Prix or something. It was an incredible record that McLaren set back then, and this would be an incredible record that if Mercedes could match that now. Mercedes haven't ever matched that type of record. I think the most they've won in a singular season is, if I'm correct, it's 18, if I'm correct, in a single season, but do correct me if I'm wrong, please. But yeah, them first 8 races anyway, really good. Low point for Mercedes, or the negative point for Mercedes, I would have to say, Germany. Looking actually at the season back, they've only had 2 bad races so far, and they are Austria and Germany. And which one's worse? I'm going to go with Germany. Germany, for me, was a much worse Grand Prix. Strategy, performance, wasn't really there. The strategy was poor. The drivers were poor this weekend. I know Hamilton was actually ill, so he did have some sort of cold of what I'm aware. But regardless, okay, whether he had a cold or not, can't be excused. He's a Formula 1 driver at the end of the day. And, of course, you know, he underperformed, so did Bottas. And, quite honestly, it cost Mercedes very much dear points in the Constructors' and Drivers' Championship. And in a way put Verstappen, who we'll come on to in a minute, into championship winning contention now, in my opinion. But of course, let's not get dwelled down by that. You know, I think Mercedes have learnt from it, and I'm pretty sure Mercedes will learn from it, if not. Next, Ferrari. And Ferrari, the SF90. Was this meant to be the year everything was meant to change? This was meant to be the year, you know, hashtag erase Ferrari, the whole lot of it. This was meant to be the new Ferrari, the Michael Schumacher era Ferrari, or similar to it anyway. But right now it's just turned out to be a load of waffle. Literally. Pre-season was great, yes, but, you know, let's look at, though, let's not focus on pre-season. Let's talk about the positives Ferrari have had so far from the SF90. And I think the positive we have to actually say is the learning curve that Ferrari will gain from this season. I think Ferrari will gain a learning curve from it, you know, that they went down the wrong path somewhere. Hopefully they can find out where. I know that may not sound too positive, but honestly, I think, you know, when you think of it, okay, that is actually a positive, you know, that this season's a bit of a learning curve for Ferrari, and for really both of their drivers, Vettel and Leclerc, and Mattia Binotto. Like, I personally think and feel, you know, Mattia's done an okay job. I don't think, you know, he's done anything better than any other team Ferrari principal at the moment, and wouldn't ever say so, but I think, you know, the thing is, okay, that I have to say is Ferrari, you know, it's been a learning curve for Leclerc, it's been quite a bit of a learning curve for Vettel. You know, he needs to, you know, be a bit more consistent and learn how to drive maybe the car. And it's been a learning curve for the entire Ferrari team. They haven't built a good enough car. They've gone wrong somewhere. I think it's the front aero package. I don't think it's actually this part of the car. I just think it's actually the front. As soon as they fix this front wing area, I think, you know, this could be a phenomenal car. But let's not forget, regulations won't change next season. So I think Ferrari, yes, whilst they're behind, they're not out of the running. But I think, you know, Ferrari do need to learn. The negative point for Ferrari, I think, so far this season, okay, has to be the fact, okay, the simple fact is the performance has been woeful. Absolutely shocking. You know, when I think of it, you know, this season, you know, Ferrari have only been quick on 3 circuits. You could argue 4 circuits, but let's just say the 3 circuits they've been quick on, okay? So, Austria, that's 100%. They were quick there, no doubt about it. Red Bull probably outsmarted or outstrategied them in the race, but, you know, they were quick, neither here or there. Leclerc got pole, he led the lap. He led the race for, I think, 69 laps or whatever. So, yeah, you know, Ferrari were quick enough to get the win at that circuit. The second circuit where Ferrari were quick enough to win was Canada. In fact, they did actually win there, you could argue, despite a steward's penalty. You know, they did cross the line first, okay, so technically they did take the checkered flag first. And, yeah, you know, pretty good result for Scuderia Ferrari, if you think of it that way. However, result remains, the official result, or what it says on paper, is Hamilton is the winner by, I think, 5 seconds, due to a time penalty, of course. Vettel second, Leclerc third. So, you know, Ferrari were quick enough there to win. And Bahrain, of course, Leclerc was quick enough in Bahrain. You could argue so was Vettel as well, so long he didn't have that spin mid-race. However, you know, Leclerc 100% was quick enough at Bahrain. It was the actual engine what let him down. And, you know, otherwise, you know, the other circuits where you could argue Ferrari had pace or could have won was Azerbaijan and Germany. However, we'll never know really whether or not they could have or couldn't have. What we do know is Leclerc crashed in qualifying in Baku, just like he did in Monaco. And obviously as well, not only did Leclerc crash in qualifying, but he didn't win the race, and Vettel also didn't qualify on pole either. So Vettel was, I think, 2/10 down off pole at that race circuit, so 2/10 of a second, pretty decent margin for Mercedes. Whether or not Leclerc could have overcome 2/10 of a second, who knows. The other one was Germany, where you could argue they had pace, but yes, I think they were the quickest car, but do I think they would have won? I don't know, because Germany is one of them circuits that is a bit like Austria, and it was such a chaotic race. The actual race was itself, you just couldn't really write that race. Even watching it back now, or looking back on it, literally, the first corner was a load of chaos. The whole, race was a load of chaos in general. It was just a mad thing. It was a madness, as Ali Law would say. But, as I was saying, like Ferrari, really, you can't really say they've been that great. And the car performance, let them down. Either mechanically, okay, as in the engine, because Vettel's actually probably going to take grid penalties at some point this year. And probably so, the same with Charles Leclerc. So it's let them down either mechanically, or package-wise in general, aerodynamically or drag-wise, there's something wrong with the SF90 in terms of that, and that's why it's going to be a big learning curve. And I think that's the only positive Ferrari can take, is it's a learning curve season for Ferrari. Next, Aston Martin Red Bull. Now, I sort of need the drivers to do this. Positive, Max Verstappen. Literally, where would Red Bull be without young Max? I honestly don't know. In all honesty, it's a real question, I think, for people to ask. Where would they be without Max Verstappen? He's actually scored, 100 and I think 63 points or something like that. I think that's what he scored. Let me just double check that. I know he's scored quite a number of points anyway. Looking back on it, like he's, I think, third in the championship, only by a few points. 181 points. Whereas his teammate, or former teammate, should I now say, Gasly, only scored, well, not even half of that, 63 points so far this season. So Gasly doesn't even have 50% of the points that his teammate does. Or former teammate now. And yeah, that's really the concern there. But positive is Verstappen, because without Verstappen, Red Bull certainly wouldn't have 2 wins right now. They wouldn't even have a podium right now, as things currently stand. So Red Bull would Ooh, that's not nice. I do, pardon me, had a bit of a hiccup. Very odd. Anyway, as I was saying, without Verstappen, Red Bull wouldn't even have a podium right now, with Pierre Gasly. Obviously we don't know, who would replace Verstappen, but yeah. But obviously, coming on to Gasly, or should I say drivers in general, right now this is, I think, Red Bull's current biggest issue, is their driver lineup right now. It's great they've got Verstappen, he's certainly a thrill to watch out on circuit, but they don't really have a number 2 driver right now in that lineup. Who is that number 2 driver, or who is that driver to partner Verstappen? Okay, yes, they've replaced Gasly with, obviously, Albon. However, let's not forget, okay, if Albon comes in, he doesn't do the job Red Bull expect of him, just like Pierre Gasly. Where do Red Bull go next? Do they turn to Kvyat? Do they go back to Pierre Gasly and ask for his assistance? Or do they go elsewhere, like somewhere that's not in their Red Bull program? Maybe Ocon? Could they go to Alonso? I don't think it'd be Alonso, but where do they really go after you know, Albon, if Albon doesn't do the job Red Bull are expecting, because there's no guarantee that come the Belgium Grand Prix he's going to be any better than Gasly was. I would like to see Albon do a good job in that Red Bull car. Who wouldn't? But at the end of the day, let's face fact that Red Bull obviously need to get that driver lineup sorted for 2020 ASAP to, in a way, also relieve pressure off the other two or other three drivers. I think, you know, really the one who's sitting pretty right now out of them drivers is probably Kvyat, because Kvyat isn't been talked about getting promoted to Red Bull at the moment. Okay, obviously Albon's been promoted, now he's expected to perform straight away. Obviously, if we're talking about Gasly in a way he's been relieved of pressure because, you know, he's no longer expected to perform as good as what he was performing, or, you know, was expected to perform at Red Bull. So yeah, I think that's the problem with Red Bull right now. You know, I think Red Bull need to sort it out, you know, ASAP, sort their driver lineup out, make sure that they put the right drivers in the right cars for 2020, and make sure that they don't make any more errors with this lineup, because right now it's costing Red Bull valuable championship points and positions in the championship, because, you know, it's actually quite a difference between second place and third place in the actual prize money. So, you know, obviously I think it's 5 or 10 million pounds or something, you know, difference, which is quite a lot when you think of it. And I'm pretty sure Red Bull would prefer 5 or 10 million pounds extra in their bank, you know, compared to any other team, of course. And to do that, they need two good drivers scoring on regular occasions, but not just on regular occasions, top 6 points, of course, to match or beat Ferrari. But yeah, so that's obviously the first, anyway, episode done of this mini-series. Next time we'll be reviewing or looking at two positives and one positive and one negative of the following teams of McLaren, Renault, even though I don't know why I've said that wrong, Renault, McLaren, and Toro Rosso. Obviously this team, or these teams, currently occupy 4th, 5th and 6th in the championship constructors standings, so we'll talk about them next time in obviously that order sort of style. And yeah, so that'll be out tomorrow, that video. So obviously hope you've enjoyed this part number 1 of this mid-season review. If you have, then please leave it a like. Sorry about the hiccup midway through the video. But either way, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, and tell me your thoughts, or tell me what you think have been positive and negative, like one positive for Mercedes and one negative for Mercedes sort of thing, or tell me your thoughts on these 3 teams' individual seasons as you would see it personally, or even, you know, you can comment as if you were a team boss, you know, what would you do if you were a team boss with Red Bull's driver lineup? How would you feel about Ferrari's current performance? And would you be absolutely thrilled if you were Mercedes? That's the question for, I think, these individual teams. You know, but yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. See you all next time for another video. I'm your host, Julian, over and out.